business owners, or owners of these properties to come in and begin with the cleanup. But before many of them can get into these buildings, authorities still need to come and clear the streets because it's almost impossible to get into a lot of these houses. We were escorted by the National Guard. We spoke to one of the captains earlier, and this is what he had to say about the destruction they've seen.
It's absolute destruction. It looks like a war zone here. Cars, piles of dirts on cars, windows busted open, garages completely flooded, houses catching on fire. I'm from the Northeast, and looking around, it looks like a major snowstorm in the Northeast. It blows my mind.
Tell them I can't hear them. So I'm going to move over to this side, Jose, so you can see more of this destruction. I mean, everywhere we look, this garage in here, now our photographer, Sirkin, has to be careful because he's walking on these sand dunes, and this is what residents have to walk through when they return to their properties. Now, Jose, all of this damage is from the storm surge. When authorities talk about the danger from a foot, 2, 3, 4 feet of a possible storm surge, this is what comes with the water, especially in these communities that are right off the Gulf. I've spoken to some of these residents, and I asked them what was different with the storm. They said, well, they always say there's a possibility of a storm surge, but it usually isn't as bad as they think. This time, it was much worse. Jose?
Guad, a few questions. So there has been a massive effort underway in Florida, which was, if you start comparing it to whereas it was a state where the Helene hit, but as it went up north, South Carolina, North Carolina has just been a mostly water phenomenon. How is the recovery process in the areas affected in Florida by Helene going?
So, Jose, when you look at Florida, Florida has state agencies that are always prepared for hurricanes. So they were standing by even before this, right? Because they've been hit by other storms this year. So the state always has crews standing by, the National Guard, the power company. So they're much more prepared for an event like this, a hurricane. Now, most of the damage in Florida, again, came from the storm surge, not so much from the wind or that heavy rain. There is some damage that we've seen around the Tampa Bay area where trees were knocked over by the wind, but it's really the storm surge that affected here. Now, when it comes to the response, because Florida is used to dealing with these types of hurricanes or storms, they are ready to come in. And even with all of those state resources and FEMA present helping out, we still have areas like this one that are waiting for officials to send in some of those machines and clear things out. They're asking people to be patient because this is just one neighborhood. We're talking about the entire Tampa Bay area, all these communities near the water that were affected. So it changes community to community. If you drive down 10 minutes over by the airport, there's a community that's waiting for authorities to come pick up a lot of the trash, furniture, appliances, things that were ruined that people brought out to the front yard. And they're asking, when are they going to pick up the trash? If you drive over in the other direction, there's boats that washed onto properties, and they're trying to figure out, what are we going to do with the boats? Here, it's really the sand right now. They need to get the sand out of the way so that residents can come back and assess the damage. So it changes from community to community, Jose. And of course, what we've seen in other states, a lot of that damage coming from the heavy rain. So this is why hurricanes are so dangerous, right? You've got the winds, you've got the rain, and you've got the storm surge, Jose.
Guad Venegas, thank you very much. And at least a third of the deaths from Helene have been reported in North Carolina, with some towns there still underwater. Many residents in Buncombe County are cut off from power, water, and cell service. Joining us now is Quentin Miller, Sheriff of Buncombe County in North Carolina. Sheriff, thank you very much for being with us. What exactly is the situation on the ground where you are?
Well, I was just first tell you it's devastating. This has been a historic event for us. We've never seen this type of flooding. We have 2 rivers that's completely out of the banks. And so this has really been a challenge, so much that we've activated our North Carolina Sheriff Association Recovery or Disaster Program. And this is why we actually have sheriffs coming to Buncombe County to assist us with this devastation.
how would you describe that devastation, and what are some of the things? Because we were, and just speaking with Guad Venegas there in Florida, it was such a water phenomenon where you are. What are some of the areas most affected, and what are the people going through right now?
Well, I will just tell you, one of the issues is that we've had buildings just engulfed with water. We've lost a Lowe's building, a U-Haul building completely. We've had a whole town just totally devastated that basically it's not there no more because it's underwater. We've had several, our recovery efforts continue, but we have landslides that we're dealing with at this point. And then with those landslides, of course, we're having challenges recovering folks. No power, no cell phones coverage. So this is quite different. When you're normally used to picking up a phone, you can't do it. Power. We have people here that don't have power. They don't have the ability to flush a toilet. And it's very, very challenging.
And I also welcome Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough is with us as well. And so, Sheriff Bobby, if you would, for folks that aren't there, what's the most, right now, what are the most pressing needs for your people?
So, first of all, I appreciate you all covering it. The most pressing need would be water, the basic essentials. It's a fluid situation. As Sheriff Miller said, we've activated the North Carolina Sheriff's Association from across the state. We need resources here. We need water. We need everything that you typically need to survive every day: food, clothing, shelter. I've seen a lot of tragedy in my career, and I've seen very few of this devastating, as Sheriff Miller said, neighborhoods that are not there anymore, recovery efforts. So we have people from all over the state of North Carolina that are coming here to assist, but we need resources. We need water. We need water. We need water.
And Sheriff, why hasn't that water been brought in already? I'm just wondering, what kind of assistance have you had? Was there any pre-storm bringing in of resources by the federal government or anybody else?
Well, the answer to that is yes. We've definitely had pre-planning, but we're not accustomed to this type of devastation.
Yeah.
We actually had, several meetings, expectations of what's going to happen. We started planning for getting water in place, getting, people in place. So we've done things, to prepare, but I don't know how to tell you how you prepare for a storm this big. And with this type of devastation, I think we've done, a good job. And as always, there's room for improvement in anything that we do. But again, I will say this. We have done, a tremendous job here. I would give credit to our county manager. I would give credit to our emergency response. Our county manager is Avra Pender. Our emergency manager is Taylor Jones. And trust me when I tell you, they really did everything they could as far as getting us prepared. And again, this is a storm that's historic, something we've never seen. And the devastation, again, entire towns are missing and folks are gone.
Yeah, if you would, both of you gentlemen, just tell us a little bit about the people that you serve, the people that you care so much about. Are there mostly rural areas? Are there towns? Are there cities? And then the second question I have is, what do you need all of us to do?
Well, what I can tell you is that I'm not from Buncombe County. As we drove in, our team drove in from Forsyth County, 2.5 hours away. As we came in, I was just tearful as what I was going into and what we came into. What I can tell you is that it's a difficult situation. We will get through it. We Buncombe County strong, and we're North Carolina State strong. We will get through it. But the question you ask, what do we need from you? We need resources. While we have resources coming, we need a plethora of them coming. We need planes landing at the Asheville airport. with pallets of water. We need resources. We have manpower here. The North Carolina Sheriff Association, Chiefs of Police Association have sent manpower here. So the town is secured. We have people here. We have law enforcement here. What we need now is resources as we stand up command centers, as we stand up sites for people to refuel. We need water. So what I need from you, I can't speak for Sheriff Miller, but from what I've seen since being here 2 days assisting him, we need supplies, and we need them coming by the pallets.
Just to add to that, you know, absolutely we need water. Absolutely we need food.
Okay,
and
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt you. The President of the United States is going to be speaking on this issue. I thank you both for being with us. Let's go right to the White House.
Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, county officials in the Big Bend region of Florida, and other leaders in South Carolina and Tennessee about the broad and devastating impacts of Hurricane Helene. It's not just a catastrophic storm, it's a historic, history-making storm. The entire Southeast and Appalachia. Damage from the hurricane stretches across at least 10 states. Winds over 120 miles an hour in some places. Storm surges up to 15 feet and record flooding. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay, and they can't contact them because there's no cell phone connections. Many more folks displaced with no idea when they'll be able to be returned to their home, if ever, if there's a home to return to. So we're keeping them all in our prayers, and all the lives lost, and those particularly unaccounted for. There's nothing like wondering, is my husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father alive? And many more who remain without electricity, water, food, and communications. And whose homes and businesses have washed away in an instant. I want them to know we're not leaving until the job is done. I also want you to know I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible, but I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis. My first responsibility is to get all the help needed to those impacted areas. And I expect to be there, excuse me, I'm cold. I expect to be there later this week. I and my team are in constant contact with the governors, mayors, and local leaders. The head of FEMA, Deanne Griswold, is on the ground now in North Carolina. She's going to stay in Asheville and Appalachia region for the foreseeable future. There's been reports of over 100 dead and consequence of this storm, and there are reports of up 600 people unaccounted for because they can't be contacted. God willing, they're alive, but there's no way to contact them again because of the lack of cell phone coverage. I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding. In addition to FEMA, it includes the Federal Communications Commission to help establish communications capability, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Defense are going to provide all the resources at its disposal to rescue and assist in clearing debris and delivering life-saving supplies. So far, that's over 3,600 personnel deployed. That number is growing by the day. I quickly approved requests from governors of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, and Alabama for an emergency declaration. And I approved additional requests for the governors of North Carolina, Florida, South Carolina, and for a disaster declaration to pay for debris removal.